The wind pushed me south. It smelled like ash and warm rust, the kind that sticks to your tongue. It scraped the flats dry, dragging sand through broken iron fences and old tree stumps that never grew back. I followed it for days, under a sky gone gray-red, like a bruise that won't heal. Then I saw it. They call it the breather. A cooling tower from before, rising out of the wasteland like a cracked horn from something buried and mean. It stood alone, wide at the base, tapering up to a split lip where even birds wouldn't risk it. At night it moaned, not loud, not mad, just a soft sound, like something huge, tired, and never able to sleep. Heat rolled out of its belly long after the sun dropped. The air around it never cooled. Wrong, but warm. Like standing beside a sick man who's still hanging on. I came in from the east. The soil turned black out there, slick and damp, like the land was sweating. Old machines lay half swallowed in the muck. Great wheels, twisted frames, copper lines like dead veins. And the closer I got, the wind changed. It tasted sweet near the tower, sweet like rot, like wet cloth left too long in the dark. That's when I saw the settlement. A mess of scrap huts and tarp domes stitched together with wire and hope. They clung to the tower's side like barnacles on a ship that never sails. Banners hung between poles and broken rebar, soot marks, rust stains, and symbols, circles inside circles, spiraling inward. They called themselves the Fogborn. 100 people, maybe more. They moved slow, like time softened here. Kids had iron rings braided into their hair. Old folks had blistered skin and raw-looking mouths from the steam. Some had no eyebrows. Some hid their faces with cloth wraps. Not from shame, just from what the heat had taken. Their arms and chests shined with oil, always slick, always sweating. Robes layered over them, sackcloth, tarp, anything that held together. Painted in spirals, always spirals. Nobody raised a gun at me, no thundersticks, just quiet, and heads turning in the same slow rhythm, like wheat in a tired wind. A boy, barely up to my hip, stepped close. He smeared ash across my brow. Then he pointed toward the tower's mouth. That was the welcome, or the warning. They watched me like they'd watched others, wanderers who came in and didn't come back out the same. They'd carved a path into the scorched earth, a spiral trail curling inward to the base. And there, under that massive stone throat, they'd built their altar. Not a temple, no glass, no spires, just stacked stones around a round metal grate where the tower exhaled. Bones hung from copper wire above it, mostly animal, I told myself, though a few shapes made me stop thinking too hard. Feathers and tin plates spun in the updraft. They clinked together like far-off chimes. The breather vented warm steam non-stop. Even under moonlight, it glowed faint, like heat you could see. The Fogborn believed that breath kept the land alive, that if the tower ever pulled in air and didn't let it go, the soil would sour, the sky would choke, and everything would go still. At dusk they gathered. The sick came first. They were brought close to the grate, held in the warm wash of steam like it was a blanket. A woman stepped up with a bundle wrapped in waxed cloth. She held it tight to her chest and didn't look at anyone. The tower sighed over her. Her skin was cracked in places, red and wet like bark split by heat. Kids walked the spiral around the stones, dragging sticks to carve grooves in the dust. Elders chanted through steam, words half swallowed, low rough sounds, damp at the edges. That night they let me sit with the old ones. One woman had blackened teeth and eyes gone cloudy. She gestured for me to kneel. No kindness in it, no cruelty either, just what came next. She unrolled a strip of hide, stiff, stained, charcoal marks across it, spirals, the tower, and a figure curled at the base with arms spread wide. More figures behind it, heads bowed. She traced the tower with a finger, tapped her own chest once. Her hand shook. Then she pointed up at the breather and closed her eyes. Tap, 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 slow, like counting heartbeats. They believed the breather once held its breath. She took my hand and pressed it to her ribs. Then she tapped the drawing again. Then she showed me a second hide, newer, cleaner. The tower was drawn exhaling, black ash rising, and across the grate, a small shape, not named, not explained, just there, like a line you don't cross unless you're desperate. I didn't need words. They'd given something to the breath. No thunder, no fire, just a life laid down, and a prayer that the steam would come back. When the tower sighed again, they cried. They called it mercy. Since then, they said, they burn offerings instead. Dried roots, meat, old relics scavenged from the dead world every seventh dusk. And they swore it's never been a child again, or so they say. On the second night, I watched the ritual. They fed the vent a wheel of dried vines and broken glass bound with thread. The glass caught the light when the steam shifted, little sharp stars. An elder smeared something black across the altar stones. Pitch maybe, maybe not. Nobody asked, nobody answered. A young girl walked the spiral alone, hair matted with ash, steps precise like she was following grooves only she could see. At each turn she leaned in and whispered into the steam, like she was telling the tower a secret. A woman approached me near the edge of the crowd. Her face was tattooed thick with ink. Her ribs showed through cloth gone thin from too many seasons. She pushed something into my palm, a totem carved from bone, wrapped in copper thread, shaped like the tower, a blessing, a warning, maybe both. Her eyes didn't blink, not once. That night the breather's voice changed, deeper, still not angry, still not pained, just vast. A bass hum that settled into your ribs and didn't leave. I laid on the earth and felt it through my spine. Like the heartbeat of something older than the sky, I stayed 3 days, ate root bread that tasted like dust and salt, drank warm water that smelled of stone. Nobody asked my name, nobody offered theirs. On the 4th morning, I left before first light. The steam trailed behind me for miles, like warmth from a hand you didn't notice until it wasn't there anymore. Even now I hear it when I sleep, that low steady breath, in and out, like the world trying to remember how it used to work. And when the wind dies, when the fire burns low, I catch myself wondering, is it still breathing, Or is it holding that breath again, waiting?